come all the way from Boston over to Europe. You're at the tail end of your tour. What's brought you over this time? Was there any particular festival that brought you guys over to Europe, or?
Fluff Fest in Rockakani, I think is how you say it, in the Czech Republic. That's the main festival we always play when we get the chance. And then also we were asked to play Extreme Fest in Toulouse, France, and we're on Ypres in Belgium after this. Yes. It's like our second to last show. So those three festivals, we kind of just curated a tour around all those festivals where we do a big loop and go to places we hadn't been, like Portugal and Spain and stuff.
And Ypres, that's really kind of a mecca for hardcore. Yeah. Is it your first time at that fest, or?
Everybody else in this band, yes. But I played Ypres in 2014 in a band called Test of Time, and our guitarist, who's been awake for 2 days straight, he was in that band as well, but he's sleeping upstairs right now.
2 days straight. I don't blame him for sleeping a little bit before you go on. And you've only had a few dates in the UK. Why did you decide to come to the UK when most of your dates have been over on the continent?
UK, a few people have like incessantly asked us. Like a few kids have been like, "When are you coming to the UK? Oh, you're coming to Europe again. When are you coming to the UK?" And this was our third time here. And this tour, we kind of just decided like we're gonna have to drive really far to get to the places we haven't played yet. So like we did Czech Republic, and then we like instantly went Milan, Italy, southern France, Portugal, and Spain because we had never been there. And then we went up through like Switzerland and Netherlands because we'd never been to Netherlands. And then UK was the other main point. So Spain and Portugal was the main point we hadn't been to, and the UK was the other spot we hadn't been to. So we decided we had to chunk it in for sure.
But it made it for a really interesting, long, and varied tour. Where has been your favorite place to play so far?
I think Madrid, Spain was tight. It was a small club. It was like a really interesting club, but there's actually lots of ladies at the show, which we don't see very often. They're up front doing their thing. They were fronting some of the bands. It was really cool to see.
I like that. I like that because women, sometimes I'll stand at a gig and I'll be, there's like two of us, you know. Yeah. So, yeah. And do you find that you get, either in the States or otherwise, a good mixed audience for your music in all respects?
Yeah, I would say more so than not, especially in Europe, because we have friends that do like t-shirt distros, and we take the t-shirts and it's got the moniker of, the no racism, sexism, any of that stuff. Just big, huge logo on the back. And we try to keep that in mind, especially when, being inclusive at shows and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like here more so than the States. The States is getting better, but I felt that in Europe it's always been more welcoming on all fronts.
Yeah, as somebody who's lived obviously in both places, I agree with you on that. Sure. And over here it does feel a bit more safe, in every way with that. And I definitely need to get one of those shirts. I fell in love from the moment I saw, so I will be getting that as soon as we're done here. Cool. What really has made you go with that theme of standing up for yourselves and being very outspoken and out and about, saying no fascism, no racism, no homophobia? Had something happened, or had you seen things that made you think that we really need to get out and talk about this and get it loud?
Us three grew up in a really violent area of hardcore in Massachusetts. Okay, yeah. It was a place called Brockton, and I reveled in it for a while. I was like, this is great, this is so fun. But like, you get to a point where you're like, seeing some guy with his eye hanging out of his socket is not cool. Like, people feeling in danger is not cool. You just kind of grow up where you end up at the point where like, I've just always kind of had this feeling inside me, like, why am I going to make someone uncomfortable? Like, why? We're all supposed to be here for the same reason, and it's because we don't belong out there. So why would I participate in something that makes people feel like they don't belong in here as well? It's like it's supposed to be a safe haven. I feel like over the years it's strayed really far from that, and I feel like more recently, like 2015 and on, it's been on the up and up, and I hope that it stays that way. But yeah, just coming from the area that we were from and the things I saw, eventually I just grew up and was like, this is not the meaning of what punk rock was. Like, people were getting beat up for being punks in the 80s. People were getting beat up for being gay. People were getting beat up for being people of color. Women were being abused, and it was like run of the mill, like par for the course kind of bullshit. And it's just like, this should be the one place where that does not happen, because if you don't feel at home here and you don't feel at home out there, where the fuck do you go? You know?
Agreed. What about you guys?
I mean, it just boils down to being a good person.
Yeah.
I mean, if none of us want to associate with people that are just shitty people, so keep them out.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. How would you say the hardcore scene is in Boston these days?
Non-existent.
It's
Non-existent, really?
It really depends on
I'm
what
just kind of
circles.
far removed from it, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's good. You know, like, people are doing their thing. It's very cliquey in a sense, but like not in like a high school sense, but more in like a come to our shows, you know. But we are like the cool guys, you know. And it makes it a little bit harder for everybody else to like get onto certain shows and like play certain shows. But those bands are good. You know, there's a lot of good bands coming out of Boston right now. We don't play at home very often because like Mike lives in California now. Robert's moving to Colorado. So it's not great for us, but the bands that are coming up are pretty doing their thing, you know. It's cool.
I feel like in Boston, to break it down to this show specifically tonight, in Boston, MDC would be playing a mile away from us playing over here, and Modern Enemy would be playing over there. Like, no, this show would not have been mixed in Boston because everybody has their head too far up their own ass to be like, oh, it could be cool if there was like a bunch of people in one room. Instead, it's like decent turnout at MDC, small turnout at us, and small turnout at Modern Enemy's show. And it'd be like all ages bar, DIY venue, 21 plus bar. You know, it's like it's so segregated to the point where it could be some gigantic great thing, but really everybody's just like, oh, this is me, this is my one specific little sect of punk and hardcore. Like the D-Beat kids are over here, 80s USHC style kids are over here, we're in the back because no one likes melodic hardcore anymore. You know, and like fucking punks that like MDC are over here at the Cambridge Elks Lodge. Like it's, you know, it's all over the place, and it's not communal, but with the population and like the history of Boston, it does well enough, you know?
Well, Boston hardcore is one of those
It's a
iconic.
moniker.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always been that long history. So it still exists, but it's a bit too fragmented, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Which-
Fragmented is a good word for it,
Which actually really sucks, but
for sure.
how does it work then? If you're in California, you've got somebody else going out to Colorado, how do you practice? How do you write songs?
Short answer is we don't. Long answer is that for a really long time, like at the beginning of the band, we literally we wrote an EP, an LP, and 2 split 7-inches like within the first 6 months of being a band. After we did like small East Coast tour, a full European tour, we wrote another LP, and then by that time, like literally the days before I was moving to California, I was finishing the vocals for that LP, and that LP came out about a year ago now. So we did 5 days on the East Coast after that LP came out, 2 weeks on the West Coast. And then we're doing this European tour. Now Robert, our guitarist, is getting married and moving to Colorado, so it's kind of like, you know, it's in limbo what exactly is going to happen. But luckily Robert's dad works for Delta, so he gets like cheap flights anywhere.
So he can pop out for the weekend.
And he like went to recording school. He records at God City with Kurt from Converge, so he's got like infinite knowledge. He could like pack up a laptop and like an interface and come to California, and I could record vocals. He could go back to Massachusetts, Kevin could record drums, like you know, so on and so forth. So it will probably exist in some capacity and semi-functional, but it's definitely going to be like a key point where like Robert is like, okay, I have my Delta miles, I'm coming here to record you, and like, you know, and it'll be like an internet band for a while where Robert's like, I've got this riff, and Kevin just goes, okay. And then, you know, we have a song. But
that can really enhance your creativity, because you have to step outside the boundaries of sitting here together and going through it together. So it may end up producing some really interesting stuff from that.
Hopefully. It's definitely not like a traditional way of doing it. It's very much like modern hardcore, but if we still want to do it, like that's the way we got to do it, you know.
I really hope that you keep going, because brilliant stuff, and you know, I would love to see you keep going on with that.
for sure.
And I would like to thank you all very much for speaking with me.
No
Have
problem
a
at all.
wonderful rest of your tour, and we will see you on stage.
Cool.
Thank you very
Have a
much.
great
Thanks.
night.